Oh, hi. My name is Sarah Schuler, and today I'm going to talk to you about virtual reality and education. So, first of all, what I did was I began with my Google Cardboard glasses. These are a really inexpensive way to experience virtual reality in the classroom. These are about $15, and there are other makes and models that range anywhere from $7 all the way up to $100 models. But like I said, these are $15, very inexpensive, very user friendly. And they're compatible with Androids and iPhones. So I began with my glasses, and then I started looking for apps, virtual reality apps, just in the App Store. Then I realized I wasn't getting a lot of very productive searches, so I began narrowing my search by doing additional research online for the best apps in education in virtual reality. Once I found some of those, I began downloading a couple of them, tried them out, found that I got really dizzy, which made me think back to Alex Fabborg's TEDx Cincinnati talk about the science of motion sickness and the importance of developing these VR apps with always maintaining head tracking, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then I found that I needed to do a little bit more research because a lot of the apps that I found online that were virtual reality for education weren't necessarily compatible with my Google Cardboard. So then I had to narrow that search even more. So that's what I did. And now I'm going to tell you about a couple of things that I learned as well. So upon my research and upon my experience, I found that most of the virtual reality world is highly developed in gaming and simulations. So this was found again by going through the App Store. Most of the apps were games or simulations in the form of like skydiving or a roller coaster or a water slide, which are all really, really cool and super engaging. But I didn't find a lot on education. So with that being said, I still think that there's a lot of development that needs to happen in the educational world, and definitely things that can make it compatible with inexpensive solutions like Google Cardboards. Um, and then I also learned about the stages of virtual reality and augmented reality, which comes from Enrico Gandolfi, um, which I thought that article was highly profound and enlightening because he talks about reducing cognitive load. Because if it is your first experience with virtual reality, it can be a very heavy experience. So to reduce redundancies will help reduce cognitive load. I also thought it was interesting. They pointed out that it has to be easy navigation, and more importantly, that you have to limit the novelty effect. So if you do use Google Cardboards or any virtual reality in your classroom, I think it's super important that you have the students experience maybe something like a game or those simulations first, so that they're not just overwhelmed by how cool it is and how intriguing that their world is now highly technologicalized, but that then they can go forward and execute the task that you want them to do in virtual reality. So you need to give them an opportunity to play first and then go ahead and do the task. So that is what I learned. Next, I'm going to talk about the capabilities of virtual reality in education. So you'll find that there is a link underneath this video for an episode of America's Got Talent. And they talked about the use of virtual reality in mental health, helping people overcome their fears and anxieties. So I highly encourage you to check out that link. But I feel like it's definitely going to be useful in mental health and psychological capacities. In terms of education, once we, focus and work on our children's mental health, then we can get them learning, and that's where we can get them into real world applications. A lot of times students are going to go, when am I ever going to use this? And, showing them a picture, showing them a video only goes so far. To have them really experience how they're going to use this education is so much more powerful, and it's had proven results that the students achieve more when they're in virtual worlds. I also believe it's transformative and it closes the opportunity gap. So a lot of times students in poverty, it's not necessarily an achievement gap, it's an opportunity gap, and that's why we have achievement gaps. So taking them on virtual field trips using virtual reality is something that, maybe schools don't have the funding for, or maybe just students aren't going to have those home lives where their parents are taking them to museums or taking them to concerts. So the virtual reality in education is super important for them to get those experiences and learn those social skills while they're out in those worlds. And then it's also kind of cool to use for previewing and reviewing content. A lot of the strategies that the math office is focusing right now is on notice and wonder. So using those virtual spaces to have students achieve those activity of noticing and wonder. So in a real world setting, because I teach math, what shapes do you notice? What geological features do you notice? What are you wondering then about them in terms of your content is going to be so important when you use them in virtual reality. So the last thing I want to talk about is how it all works, which is really, really simple. You're going to get some goggles. Like I said, Google Cardboards is my way to go, $15, super inexpensive. There are a lot more other cost-effective solutions as well. You're going to get your goggles. You're going to find some apps in the App Store. I highly recommend too doing some research online as well to what's compatible with your machine. And then you're going to test the apps because I found a lot of trial and error. What I thought was one thing on the app, what it said as the description was not what I was experiencing. So for instance, I downloaded a meditation and wellness virtual reality simulation, and that's not what I got at all. I got other links to other games and virtual reality simulations, nothing about meditation whatsoever. So you have to desperately try them before you hand them over to your kids, or else they're going to reach a frustrational level. And then play, design, and immerse yourself in those virtual worlds, because that's what we want our kids to do. And it's pretty fun, pretty simple, and I highly encourage you to try it out. Thank you for watching, and please click on more of the links below. There's a link for the top ways to use them in mathematics education. There's the top 25 apps for virtual reality in education. There's that link I mentioned for America's Got Talent and how they use virtual reality in mental health. And then there's also a link to how a school in Toronto, Canada, use them in their educational setting for STEM and math classes as well. So enjoy!